Good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to the Mechanism Podcast. This is yours, and most importantly, Pastor Jay here live. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody. So, we're going to go ahead and get started with a song selection. It's a song entitled by Ronald Jordan. It's entitled Heaven. All right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's episode of the molecule mechanism, everybody. Mechanism podcast. My name is Pastor Latricia Johnson. I am the founder of On Time Ministry, and this is the podcast that is going to be shared through YouTube and Facebook for the next 3 months. So, this mechanism podcast segment I'll be doing, we'll be focusing on life skills in the month of January. And the concept of the mechanism podcast, it talks about process, it talks about technique, it talks about system of achievement and results. As we spend the next 3 months tuning into our minds, bodies, spirits, and souls, everybody. We're going to have these type of discussions. You can tap in, comment, whatever you may feel the need to say in the comment section below. But the conversation that'll be shared here in this podcast is going to change your life and impact you in a tremendous way. So, everybody, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So tonight's topic is in reference of parenting. And I'm a little bit early tonight. I wanted to make sure all audio and everything work accordingly here tonight. This conversation is based on his experience as me being a parent and to just share the knowledge and wisdom that has been bedded in me as parenting as we are starting off with January 1st on a bang. As we look at parenting, it doesn't come with a manual or any type of instructions. You learn from family or strangers along the way, or just learn on your own how to be a parent. And the thing about it is, the way society looks at things, it's completely different than where it was back in the day. And they always talk about it takes a village to raise a child, but that village doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately, because it seems like every man for themselves. And there's just so many rules and guidelines out here now, everybody, that it's hard to really be that support system that our children need. And it's become so overwhelming as a parent with all the technology that is out there, with social media taking over completely, as computers and phones and tablets and gaming systems, all of them playing a major role in their life. Kids using laptops to do homework now. They don't really have many textbooks out there. Everything is so digital. And a lot of us are not, tech savvy in terms of how to help and support our kids in terms of teaching them those type of tools to use with technology, because everything you see is a tablet, everything you see is a phone, everything you see is a laptop, everything is touchscreen, everything is so electronic, got to be charged up, this and that and the third. And parenting has become so challenging. The math lessons and all the things that's being embedded into our kids. When we were growing up, our math lessons were completely different than when they're teaching our babies now. And what it looks like is that it's become very challenging and become very difficult. And I know there's somewhere out there there's training for parents to kind of get that extra boost. That's why they have SAC meeting, committee things, and that nature at the schools that you can attend. But a lot of us have crazy and hectic work schedules, so we just can't just stop what we're doing a lot of times and participate in a lot of the SAC meetings and whatnot. Yes, there's no excuse that you can't be a part of SAC meetings, the things that goes on. But if your work schedule is very crazy and you have to work 12-hour shifts or even go from one job to another job, it's kind of hard for you to balance out the two, especially if you are a single dad or a single mom and you got to juggle from one job to the next. You have to put your kids in daycare, you have to put them in after school programs, or they have to stay with loved ones, or whatever the situation may be. And it's hard for you to really be fully engaged in what's going on in your child's school if you have all these other obligations that need to be taken care of. And a parent's role is very challenging. It's very overwhelming. It's very stressful. It's very emotional, where you have your highs and lows that go for men and women. So when we look at the whole category of everything that is happening, we have to learn somehow to balance it out. But a lot of time it's hard to balance it out because when you are in a parent role, you're wearing multiple hats, depending on how many kids that you have at home. It can be 5, 10, maybe 15, depends on how big your family is. And every child has a different personality. And you learn something so different about each and every one of your children. And this one may laugh, this one may be quiet, this one may get in trouble, this one may be angry, this one must be stressed, and this one may be shy, this one may be sad. It's various emotions that children go through, and us as parents have to figure out the right best solution to deal with each and every one of our children. And that goes to show that every child that we have, their feelings and their viewpoint, it really do matter. And it matters because they need that support system. They need to know that everything that is being shared to them is going to help them in the long run. Spending that quality time with them, having that conversation with them, building that relationship, building that foundation with them is so overwhelming. And you have those who are in foster care and they have foster parents, and the role of a foster parent can be very difficult and challenging because you are raising somebody else's child. And that is so difficult, and it's hard. It's hard at some stage because you don't know their emotions are going to be highs and lows. So we look at the pros and cons as being a parent and parenting skills. And most will listen to this podcast. Like I said, this is a no judge free zone podcast. You can comment below of everything I'm sharing with you all tonight here, everybody, because parenting is a full-time job. It really is. And you have to understand that it's an ongoing job. Even when your kids are grown, you're still going to have to be parenting them as adults and giving them advice and giving them knowledge and giving them wisdom, and helping them through life challenging skills that they deal with. And the way society is built right now, most people are staying with their loved ones because rent is high and things are overwhelming, that you have to really start buckling down and start budgeting and managing things effectively. And it's so important to share these life skills with your kids, to let them know that you have their back no matter how old they get. You're going to love them and appreciate them because they're your babies, and you're going to love them. And your love is unconditional. Yes, children have a tendency to say things, and young adults have a tendency to say things that make you mad, but you still have to have that love for them. In a lot of different situations, you're like, Pastor Jay, my situation is different than yours. And I completely understand that because we all have different backgrounds. We are brought up in different ethnic groups and different places, and our customs and our living and environment is completely different. And I completely understand it because we all have different values and morals that was embedded into us. But as a parent myself, I just encourage you to really listen to your babies. And it's important to listen to our kids and listen to ourselves too, and go back and recapture the things that we say to our kids and kind of say, okay, maybe I could have handled it differently, or maybe I could have handled it another way. What I'm saying to you all here in this episode is that whatever it is that you may be facing in any type of challenges and diversity or setbacks or barriers that are blocking that, talk to your babies. See, I have an open relationship with all my kids. I made that decision along the line to just be open and have that conversation with them, to find out a lot of things that they go through. And they're very, very transparent with me about what they're feeling and how they're dealing with things. And I enjoy the conversation with my daughters, and I definitely enjoy the conversation with my son. We have conversations all the time about whatever they may be dealing with. And it's so important that I have that line of communication with them, to show them that they have a support system that back them up 110%, because I back up my kids 110%, whatever their dreams and goals and things that they want to go through, or whatever it is that they're going through in school, and whatever setbacks and whatever situations that are happening. I'm able to just hear them out and just listen to what they are feeling and their viewpoint, because their opinion and their viewpoint matters. And their viewpoint is matter because guess what? They're individuals, they're human just like I am. So they have the importance of sharing what they feel and expressing themselves, because one day they're not going to always be little boys and little girls. They're going to grow to be young men and young women. And what you embedded to them at that age will stick to them as they get older and go on in life. What we have to understand is our kids mimic us and they idol us, and they see how we present ourselves and how we carry ourselves through everyday life routines. And some of them are inspired and would like to be like mommy or be like daddy and be that go-to person. Oh, my dad's my role model. My mom's my role model because I'm inspired by her going back to school and pursuing her business career. Or I'm inspired by my dad being a police officer or a doctor or a lawyer or a judge or whatever it is that he may be doing, or even opening his own business, or even going back to college, or even if your dad or your mom play any type of sports or athletics, or they're in the music business or acting or traveling, whatever it is that your parents are doing, it's important to support their dreams, so that way when your children get to that age, as they supported you, you can show that same love that they showed unto you, and you can go and support them and give them tips in order for them to move forward and where they're going. Parenting doesn't come with a manual. You learn down the way. You learn from, like I said, family and friends and everybody along the way that's going to help you understand these skills. Learning more about your kids, getting involved with their education, getting involved with their lifestyle, it can be very challenging. And to build that relationship with your children is where it starts, by having that open line of communication with them, by expressing your concerns. A lot of times teenagers and young people will kind of push you away, say, mama, daddy, you're a little too nosy. But when you find an outlet that's going to help you reach your children, and then they begin to feel more comfortable to confide to you about a lot of things they may be dealing with at school, or dealing with friendship, or just having decisions they want to make with their, what kind of colleges they want to attend, or where they want to move to, and what kind of career they want to embark in, they start to really navigate these things as they're going down the line, because children are going to always need some type of support and advice as they get older. And us as parents have to give them what they can. And if we don't have the answer, we can go find somebody who can give us the answer, or find that mentor that can give them the answer that they may need to help them get to that next level in their life. Being a parent is a full-time job. And I don't stress that enough. And parenting, if you may not be that, you have foster parents, a full-time job. If you're a grandmother or a granddaddy or auntie or uncle or a niece or nephew, or whatever your role may be, and you are playing that role of parenting, it's a full-time job. And you're taking on a role and a responsibility of some amazing and beautiful, wonderful children. And you're showing them and teaching them things that were taught unto you, and you're helping them navigate through this thing called life. And that's the thing about it, is because life is hard. Life is challenging. Life, it can be very difficult and very emotional. When you start to balance these things out, you begin to really understand that doing these challenges and things that you may be facing, you start to really go forth in moving in each category of the level which you are growing and developing in. Many times we take things and kind of push back and begin to say, man, I didn't realize that this was important. Like, for example, you may have went off to college when you were younger. And you may have went to an Ivy League or HBC or joined a fraternity or sorority, whatever the situation may be. And your children have grown into who you are as a man and a woman, and they want to follow down that footsteps. So they have that conversation, say, hey, dad, or hey, mom, I want to go to college. I want to join a fraternity. I want to join a sorority. What are the steps for me to take in order to pursue that same path that you took on? So that's the conversation you may have with your son or daughters who want to pursue that path and go down that road in fraternities or sororities and joining different paths that they may want to join unto. And the thing about it is, you have to understand the whole scenario of what it is that you may be going to and towards, and it's going to help you understand the things along the way. So you'll have that conversation with your son, and he may be asking you various questions, or you may have that conversation with your daughter, and she may ask you various questions of the do's and don'ts and how to handle these things. And the thing about it is, when you begin to have those open dialogue conversation with your children, it becomes very intense because they may ask you some very uncomfortable questions. Us as parents had to be very mindful because they're still children, and we still have to be mindful of how we present ourselves accordingly with them. Because, like I said, this generation is off the chain, and I'm telling you, you say something to these babies, they'll come back and say something to you, and you be looking real crazy, like, "Ooh, did I say that?" And then they come back and remind you what you said. So you have to be very mindful of what that looked like and how that looked like, and that's called a process. And that process goes along the way when you just begin to just start speaking from the heart and start telling your experiences and what you've been dealing with and how you've been facing it and how challenging life was, and give them a piece of a story of your life. Most of them say, "Oh, Pastor Jay, this story time," but a lot of the story times us as parents share with our kids has a message that's going to carry with them until they get to that age. Like, man, I remember the time my mama told me this story about this and that and the third, or I remember the time my daddy told me this story about this and that and the third, and how this really plays a tremendous impact in my life. And children will reflect on these things. Not only will it bring joy and excitement into your heart as a mother and a dad, or a grandmother, or a granddaddy, or an uncle or auntie, whatever role you may play in the parenting role, but it gives you some type of enlightenment, and it gives you some type of sense of peace to know that you share that wisdom and that knowledge with that baby, that they can carry that for the rest of their life, and they can share that to their kids and their grandkids and great grandkids, their nieces and nephews. That same wisdom and knowledge that you share unto them, they can carry that down the line. So with the mechanism that we're sharing here about parenting, it's always something new you can learn as a parent. It's always something different you can do as a parent. If you have toddlers, you have infants, you have elementary school age children, you have middle schoolers, you have high schoolers, you have college students, you have young adults, you got older adults, whatever your role may be, everybody, you can learn so much more about the thing about parenting, like your children's emotions and what they're feeling and how they like to keep to themselves and what emotions and things that they're dealing with inside. And when you begin to really listen, and I don't stress it enough, listening to your babies is so important. Having that line of communication with your babies and listening is so important. Communicating and having that line of communication. Don't beat yourself down because you're not in a place where, okay, I feel like I'm the best parent. Let me tell you something, and I'm going to use this and be very, very mindful about this. You are doing an amazing job as a parent, okay? I want to salute you all who are parenting, who are parents out there. You are doing a fantastic job. If nobody hasn't told you this in a while, you keep doing what you're doing. You're keeping a roof over their head. You're providing shelter. You're providing food. You're making sure they're clothed and fed and taken to the doctor and nursed back to health. You're doing a phenomenal job. So don't let anyone tell you that you're not doing a phenomenal job. You're taking care of your responsibility as a parent. So don't let anybody tell you that you're not doing an amazing job. Pastor Jay is telling you you're doing an amazing job. You keep going. You keep learning everything you need to learn about being a parent, being a mother, and guiding those babies in the right direction and getting all the help and support that you need. So I congratulate you for every milestone that you have made from this point on. And this is January 1st. This is a whole new year. So I congratulate you for making that decision and making that choice to do what you need to do. And those of you who have raised your kids to the best of your ability, I'm congratulating you because you have raised your children to the best of your ability. So don't feel bad and don't be ashamed. You raised your children to the age of 19 and 20, and children make the decision based on what they want to do with their life. So don't ever feel bad. Don't ever feel ashamed. Don't ever feel guilty. You did the best that you could as a parent of what you learned as a parent and what you had been taught and how it brought you to the very day. So you've been a good parent. So you need to give yourself an applaud for raising your children to the best of your ability. When children get a certain age, they make the decision based on the decisions they want to do in their own life. And us as parents have to pull away and allow them to make those mistakes. We can't save them all the time. We try to, but they have to learn like we had to learn to get through some of these obstacles and setbacks in their life in order for them to learn from those mistakes and choices that they make in their life. Most say, Pastor Jay, it's easier said than done. I understand. Like I said, everybody has different situations and everybody has a different way of looking at it. But what I'm saying is you did a great job. Okay. You did an amazing job. And that job is that you loved your kids, you took care of them, you clothed them, you fed them, you nursed them back to health, you took them to their doctors, you took them to school, you picked them up, you took them to after school, daycare, football practice, basketball, baseball, soccer, cheerleading, anything. You did that. You made that dedication as a mother and a father, and you supported them as they went on to college. And as you see them pursuing, and if they didn't go to college, you supported them in their dreams to travel or their dreams to start their own business. You supported them and you supported them and cheered them on and say, I got your back, son. I got your back, daughter. And you reminded, oh, I got your back, niece and nephew or grandson or granddaughter or great grand or grand, whatever your role may be in that child's life or children's life. You did a phenomenal job raising them to the best abilities. So you should give yourself a round of applause in this new year. If nobody said it today, I'm applauding you for a job well done because your job was hard, but you continue to push through the barriers and setbacks that kept you going every day. You worked 2 or 3 jobs. You stayed up late at night, cleaning up, cooking, making sure lunch was packed. Whatever it is that you were doing, you did it with a heart, a gracious heart, and you did it with a heart of God. So, everybody, as we think about this topic about the Mechanism podcast, think about the process that you had to go through in order for it to really move where it should move. And when it moves the way it should move, it starts to spark something inside of you that says, hey, I really did that. I did an awesome job. I didn't congratulate myself enough. I didn't appreciate myself enough. I kept bashing myself down and complaining about things, but I got to look about it this. And I want to say these few points before I end this podcast. I'm going to give you 10 points of the pros and 10 points of the cons. And I'm going to bring in 5 different positive things that will kind of spread love through this podcast. The pros and cons. You were faithful. You were consistent. You loved. You appreciate. You congratulated. You made sacrifices. You brought gratitude. You showed joy when you wanted to cry. You held your head up high and you didn't give up and you survived. Those are the 10 pros that we are just spoken about. So the 10 cons that you're talking about, you felt discouraged. You felt afraid. You felt scared. You felt unsure. You felt detached. You felt disconnected. You were in so much disbelief. You didn't feel like you had enough relief. You were stressed out a lot of time and you felt like you were ungrateful. Now, that's the 10 cons. Now, we're going to look at 5 positive things out of everything. Number 1, you survived. Number 2, you are victorious. Number 3, you are phenomenally amazing. Number 4, you never gave up no matter what it looks like, no matter what it felt like, and no matter what it sounded like. You may felt like it wasn't going to get any better, but in reality, it did get better. In reality, the help came. In reality, the support came. In reality, your prayers were answered. They wasn't done in vain. And you kept praying until things were answered for you. That way you was able to feel a sigh of relief. And that sigh of relief brought you some type of closure. And it brought healing into your life to know that help is available for you and help is on the way, just a phone call away. And number five, you were able to smile again. And the thing about it is, when you're beginning to smile again, that's a process. So in this mechanism podcast, episode 1 about parenting, I want you to take to heart tonight, everybody, that everything that you're doing right now, you should congratulate yourself and give yourself a pat on the back because you're doing a phenomenal job. Okay. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you're not doing a phenomenal job. A lot of times people will come in your view and look at all the wrong, but you take that wrong that others say about you and turn it into a positive thing. You flip that thing around because it goes to show that you have complete, absolute potential in becoming an amazing mother, amazing auntie, amazing uncle, grandparent, grandfather, grandmother, a great, amazing dad, because you continue to love and you continue to work hard and you continue to move forward in everything that you're believing in. So I want to give you all a round of applause as we begin this series of the Mechanism podcast, episode 1 about parenting. I pray that you were blessed by this podcast. So for every Monday now, for the next 3 months, we'll be on at 7 p.m. with a different topic. All right. Or a different subject matter, but the topic for January is life skills, everybody. Life skills is what we'll be speaking about. And this is very, very important, everybody, because as we move forward in the podcast, it's going to help you navigate. It's going to help you feel motivated. It's going to help you be determined. It's going to help you understand the importance of parenting and what that looks like. All right. So make sure you all tune in on next Monday at 7 p.m. The topic subject matter is family. So make sure you all tune in on next Monday at 7 p.m. January 8th. Every Monday from now all the way to March 25th. I post a flyer on my personal page so you all can find out what time and what's the subject for each of the segments that I'll be doing for the next 3 months. This is a 14 episode podcast. We're taking a 2-month break in the month of May. Well, actually, yeah. No, yeah. Yeah, 2-month break. And April and May, and we'll be back at it again from June all the way to August for another 3-month podcast, and that'll be season 2 of the Mechanism podcast. So this is something I've been dear and heart unto me to share with you guys here. You can follow, like, and subscribe the Mechanism podcast on YouTube, and you can follow the personal page to check out the podcast as well to stay connected with the podcast. So this will be a 3-month podcast, everybody. Again, this is the subject that we're speaking about: lifestyle, life skills, and we're going to be focusing on next Monday at 7 p.m. family. So I pray blessings over your life, and I wish you all a happy new year, and I pray blessings to you all, and I'll see you back here on next Monday at 7 p.m. with episode 2 of the Mechanism podcast. Life skill topic is the subject. Life skills subject, and the topic is family. Everyone have a blessed and a phenomenal Monday evening. Good night, guys.